Unified School District to order. Roll call. Jim Irving. Here. Leslie Carlisle Burnett.
Here.
Patty Coutre.
Present.
Tori Anderson.
Present.
And Scott Bartle is here. With us this evening is a member of Maricopa City Council as well as the post commander for the American Legion, Judy Gussy, who will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Number 2, adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
I'm sorry. There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
With discussion?
Discussion. Mrs. Coutre.
I would like to remove 2 items from the consent agenda. Item 6F, salary schedules, and 6G, governing board meeting.
I would also like to move the superintendent's report to immediately following the adoption of the agenda.
It's there already.
No, between the, above the call to the public.
Oh.
So we have a motion and a second. Unless there's a rescission, we'll have a...
The motion wasn't with the amended item.
Right.
Okay,
There
so-
was a second one.
I would move the agenda with the amendments.
Okay.
And I will second that.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, superintendent's report. Dr. Conley?
Good evening, President Bartle, Vice President Anderson, and members of the board. You think I'm on? It's blue.
I can hear you.
Okay. I'm Dr. Conley. I'm your Deputy Superintendent for Maricopa Unified School District. I have several items to report on tonight, and the first, as always, we like to recognize our teachers, and that is Jessica Ansley and Denise Palmer. So if they are here, I did see one of them.
Right there.
If you would please come up. And Mr. Beckett will generously give you your beautiful bouquet, which several people at district office would like to have taken. They have spent numerous hours volunteering their time to recruit and retain our students at Maricopa Unified School District. They've worked with parents, community members, our teachers, looked at our current facilities, and really looking at ways to bridge the elementaries to the middle to the high. And I certainly can't say thank you enough to either one of you. I appreciate you very much. As with some of their work, we have a free car wash. I believe it is on May the 5th. It's on Cinco de Mayo. And we are also working on a recognition program the last week of school for our students that have had perfect attendance in our district, because oftentimes our students aren't recognized for perfect attendance. We often misplace and overlook them, and it's certainly something to be recognized and appreciated. Budget Committee. We have a meeting tomorrow night, 7 p.m. We are finished with all of our reports out to the Budget Committee. What I foresee is the next 2 meetings. I'm not sure if we can get finished in 1 meeting, but it really is getting into the meat of the recommendations of the Budget Committee to then present those recommendations to the Deputy Superintendent to present to you. So we're hoping within, for sure, the first week in May, our first board meeting in May, and then we'll move forward from there. Next item, recognize our Maricopa High School Skills USA winners. This is our career and technical education program under the direction of Rick Nielsen. 3 of our programs are broadcast journalism, And our, I always get this one wrong, graphic design. I always want to call it photography. They are here, and I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Nilsson.
Good evening, President Bartle, members of the board, public. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'd like Chuck King, Pete Ventrone, and your students, if you'd like to come up, please, Paisley and Muriel. Each year, our career and technical education programs compete in a variety of competitions, not much unlike our athletic competitions. This year, through our organization called Skills USA, our broadcast journalism program, in their very first year of full operation, took gold, first place. Getting a little choked up. Ashley March was the floor director for the program, meaning she was the student leader of a team of 4 students. Unfortunately, the other 3 students weren't able to be here this evening. But not only did these students have to demonstrate their technical knowledge of the television cameras and the sound and all that, they received a packet of AP press release information just like it came off the wire in a newsroom. They had 90 minutes to create a script. I'm sorry, I'm getting like House Speaker Boehner, I guess. It's just, so good here. But anyway, the other thing that these students did is the competition was about to be canceled because they didn't have any equipment. These students, I'm sorry, I'm just very proud, I guess. These students tore down their broadcast studio, hauled all the equipment to downtown Phoenix, set it up, and helped all the other teams. I'm sorry. Last point. With that said, they got there at 7 o'clock in the morning. They didn't get to start their competition until 6 o'clock at night. And we got back here at 10, had to unload all the equipment and put it back in the studio. I'm done struggling. Pete Ventrone is our graphics design instructor. Pete? Yeah, you get to speak. I can't talk.
No crying.
The graphic design competition is actually, titled Advertising Design, and the students are judged on creative skills, technical skills, and a written portion, there's a resume portion, and even dress code. So Paisley, out of, I think it was 67 competitors, something like that, took second place. So very, very, very proud of Paisley. And unfortunately, I thought she was going to be able to compete at the national level, but they changed the rules this year for the advertising design. Only the first place student for each of the local districts get to go. So she will not be able to go to nationals, but she is definitely a national champion in my mind. It's one of my best students. So just thank you, Paisley.
Okay, and then we have Chuck King, who works very closely with Mr. Ventrone. Chuck is our graphics design digital photography instructor.
Thank you. Mariel took 5th place in the state. It was a 7-part test. Everything from shooting, they had to present an image prior to it, they had professional knowledge, problem solving, a Photoshop part of the contest. Troubleshooting. They showed them prints, what's wrong with it, they had to answer that. And out of 192, Mariel came in 5th. She missed top 3 by 4 points. Okay? Minor. You did good, kid. And she also took 2nd place in the regionals. So she went in going, she knew she was going to do good. I trust her. Thank you.
I know all of you know this, but every time I get an opportunity to share great happenings in our district, our CTE program is one of our hidden jewels at Maricopa Unified. And being a former high school principal and seeing what we have at our high school, I truly believe that not only do we have the best in the state, but maybe one of the best in the nation. And we're looking at ways to bridge that down into the middle school. So great job again, students and teachers and Mr. Nilsson. Update on summer school. I would like to officially say that as of 5 p.m. this evening, we were approved for another grant of $125,000 for a transition summer school for our math students. A big congratulations to Jamie Amick and Miss Sala, who worked diligently in getting the last-minute details, and it was a very, very quick first-come, first-served basis. We will be offering summer school to our 21st century schools, which is Santa Rosa, Maricopa Elementary School, and Santa Cruz, along with Maricopa Wells Middle School. We also are working with our Ak-Chin tribal community to offer our online program in their community, and again, bridging those connections between our summer programs and our regular programs. So we're excited about all the work that we're doing for our summer schools. District-wide registration, this is something new as well. We have scheduled July 23rd in the morning and July 24th in the evening. You'll have many more details, but what we are doing is we are gathering all of our secretaries, all of our food services, transportation, working with our public health department, and bringing basically a one-stop shop to district office for those that need to register for the school, for the school year. So again, we'll have more information for that, but we're looking forward to being able to really make things more efficient. And I do have to give the kudos to Ms. Janelle Hildick, as she's the one that this idea came forth. So great work in our administrative team. The next item is the update regarding the issue of the Pledge of Allegiance. As you know, I have been honored to serve as your Deputy Superintendent for the last 5 months, and any time that we have a concern brought to us, we immediately look at what we have in place, and we preach about teaching reflection. You've heard me talk about our promising practices and what we have to do for making our educational institution the very best. And as a leader, I know that I have to reflect each and every day of how I can be a better leader tomorrow. And I know that each and every leader that's sitting in front of you does the same, as does our teachers, and that's what we are instilling in our children. When we look at the reflection of an isolated incident that happened at the high school, I want to begin by saying, as a daughter of a Korean War veteran, as a mother of 5 children, as a teacher that is passionate about education and what's good for kids, and knowing that school was my safety and the reason that I survived, I take these things very seriously, as does, I know, our high school principal. When we have situations like this, you immediately look at your students. And we want to ensure that every moment for our students is an environment in which they can learn. Unfortunately, at that moment, that student did not have that. However, I am going to say, as a former principal in this district, I know that each and every morning that pledge was offered to our students, that we respect what the Pledge of Allegiance means to us. And with that said, we also respect the differences among our staff and our students. And looking at what we have in place, we have our items in place, but I am one to always say that we can do better. And you guys hear this from me all the time. I'm no longer one to say that we're good. I want to be great. And that's where this issue has taken us. Each student every day is provided that opportunity to participate in the Pledge of Allegiance. In our policy as well, each student in grades 4th through 6, and this is state law as well as our district policy, they are to learn the first passage from the Declaration of Independence. In addition, in state law, and it does not need to be in our school policy, 7th through 12th grade, the Bill of Rights and the Constitution is hung adjacent to our flag. They're very important to our nation and to what we are trying to educate our students with. You also know that we have a very diverse community, and you also know from our passion from our leadership team that cultural diversity is one of the issues that we're tackling, and we will succeed in educating and making the most of our cultural diversity, embracing that. With that said, we are very fortunate to live in the United States, and we do not take that for granted. We do offer that every teacher in the classroom, the first class of each day, also conducts a period of meditation. And what that means is typically, I know in our elementaries, I know in our middle schools, and I know in our high school, after the pledge, we say, will you please remain standing for a moment of silence. This is not something new that we have put in place. This is something that's been in place for years, and we do that religiously. The next piece is that students whose parents have informed the school that they are not to take part in the meditation period or the patriotic observances are expected to observe the courtesy. And I know that our teachers in this district respect that and instill that within our students. In the case of the incident that has been brought to our attention, I am very fortunate to have been in this community and have made partnerships of our community, not only as friendships, but as community partners in education. I'm blessed to have that partnership with Judy Gussy, who is the commander for our American Legion, for our veterans. And I know that as a former principal in an elementary school here in Maricopa, we've had the history of the flag presented, and we will continue to do that district-wide. And they have graciously offered their services, so thank you, Ms. Gussy, on behalf of Maricopa Unified School District. Again, as I said, anytime that we have a student or a parent bring a concern to us, we take each and every concern very seriously, and we never downplay that. And with that said, the allegation was completely investigated. It was an isolated incident, and whether we agree or whether we disagree with a teacher's beliefs or my beliefs, we make sure that we give an opportunity for the Pledge of Allegiance, and that was offered. And again, as in the case whenever a microscope is taken to one of our policies, we know that it can be taken, that we can go to the next level, and that's exactly what we've done to this. We've gone and we've taken it to the next level. So on behalf of Maricopa Unified School District and the situation that has been brought to our attention with the Pledge of Allegiance, it is never our intent to make a child be placed in a situation where they're uncomfortable. And we know we've learned from this, and on behalf of Maricopa Unified School District, I apologize for the feelings that student felt at that moment. But I know as a leader in this district, we're moving forward and taking our best foot forward. Next item on my superintendent's report. Last one. our open enrollment applications, and this is just a public announcement. In policy, many of our students, not many, we have some students that have open enrollment and attend a different school that is not in their home boundary. Per policy, those applications need to be in with the principal by April the 15th. Tonight, there is a board agenda item that you're going to be looking at, and it addresses the policy for a clause that's in that policy, and I'll address it at that time. But these open enrollment applications are due by April the 15th if there is a student that is attending a school that's out of their normal boundaries. And that does conclude my superintendent's report. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Connolly. Call to the public. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for a future agenda. The board requests that all comments be limited to 3 minutes or less, and that the public refrain from the use of speech or language that is offensive or inappropriate pursuant to board policy KFA. And we have a couple dozen comment cards this evening. If there's anyone who would like to address the board who hasn't filled out a comment card or a 3x5 card, please do so and bring that forward. I would ask, we will keep it to the 3 minutes, but I would ask that folks do not be redundant. If your issue has already been addressed, please respect everyone's time in that regard. And also, I know that we have a large contingency from the East Valley Tea Party here, so if you guys would like to have a spokesperson or two to represent your thoughts, feel free to do that. And as a final reminder, when you address the board, please state your name and address for the record at the advance of your comments. So, to the best of my ability, I will group these. We have primarily two different issues. So for the folks who referenced that, we'll group those accordingly. We'll start with Judy Gussy.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, board members, President Bartle. My name is Julia Gussy. I'm a council member here for the City of Maricopa, and as President Bartle had mentioned, I'm also the commander of the American Legion here, Post 133. I'm also a proud parent of two Maricopa Unified School District kids, one at the high school and one at the middle school. I'm here to you today. I'm going to give you a little brief outline of what I'm all about. I'm a first-generation American. I'm the first generation to serve in the United States Air Force. I'm the only female in my family, extended family, to have ever served in the military. And I'm very proud to have served in the military. I'm also the first elected official in my family, so that makes me unique and very first. I have to tell you that I'm very passionate. I love my country, and I'm going to admit that I did not learn the respect of the United States flag until I enlisted in the military. My parents weren't from this country. Therefore, my education was based when I enlisted. And I am extremely proud of the way the Maricopa Unified School District has conducted themselves with this little issue. I have to tell you that being a proud American, I respect my flag to no end. And any disrespect, I am the first to call out on that. I also have to tell you that I didn't learn to respect my flag until I was 18 years old when I enlisted in the military, because I did not know. I wasn't taught these skills. I wasn't taught, even although I did do the Pledge of Allegiance since I was in kindergarten, I was never taught how to respect my flag. So therefore, when Dr. Connolly had approached me as the commander of the American Legion to do some workshops with our students, I jumped at that chance. I love the opportunity to educate our youth. And that's one of the reasons why I volunteered. And there are other Legion members that will be volunteering for this purpose also. So with that said, I tell you, only in America can a first-generation American, can a first-generation woman to serve in the military. It could only happen here. So once again, I love my country, and I'm proud to serve, and I'm proud to serve in a different capacity in this time around. Thank you.
Thank you. Dawn Vasquez.
Good afternoon, President Bartle and board members.
Please state your name and address.
My name is Dawn Vasquez. My address is 45402 West Miramar Road. This, what I'm about to say, was actually started out as a letter, but I have since decided to speak it directly to you guys. It says the following. I have been working on this letter for several hours, but somehow the words that I write fail to embody the passion with which I impart them. My only recourse then is to speak from my heart, not with the intent to change your minds, but with the hope of opening your eyes. Although we have not met, you and I have a lot in common. We value education. We believe that every child can learn. We want to make a difference. And we know that only the very best is good enough for our kids. You have chosen to represent these ideals by taking up a public office and using your voice to make our community a better place. Is this on? Okay. As for me, I'm not so brave. Although I attend board meetings, I've never mustered up the courage to come and talk during the call to public. As a matter of fact, I've never even sent one of you an email before. Rather, I'm much more comfortable talking in front of the kids. My call to public comes each day when I greet my students and I tell them that everything they're going to do that day matters. I need you to understand this. I need you to understand where I'm coming from, what motivates me, what my hopes are, and what I hope to accomplish here. I am crazy in love with teaching. There is nothing else I would rather do than teach. I have 27 students in my classroom, but I would teach 100. I barely make enough money to pay for my student loans, but I would do it for free. I work 12 to 14-hour days, but I would spend every waking hour if my body would let me. It is with absolute certainty that I say I am not alone in this journey. There's an old proverb that says, "Tell me who you walk with and I'll tell you who you are." And I'm proud to say that I've walked with some of the strongest, most passionate people this district has ever known. Along the journey, I've been saddened to see some of these people move to other districts. I've been relieved to see that others have stayed committed to ours. But nothing could have prepared me for the potential loss of who I believe is one of the most effective leaders that this district has known. As you may know, Rochelle Reese was placed on the board packet for non-renewal of her contract. It has since been changed to resignation. Have you asked yourself why? Here are some things that I've come to know. Mrs. Reese has worked for Maricopa Unified School District for over 13 years while continuously advancing herself and moving up in leadership positions.
Ms. Vasquez, please wrap up your comments.
Absolutely. She has fulfilled a plethora of different positions. She has turned around a non-performing school, and hopefully in 2 months will be one of 2 schools in the state of Arizona to get out of corrective action. She's the only principal in this district who's being non-renewed. Let me wrap up by saying this. Our kids deserve the very best, and she's it. So let me leave you with this. Why has our district initiated the removal of this administrator? Does her removal benefit particular people or groups? Does it perpetuate a veiled agenda?
Ms. Vasquez, thank you for your time.
Let me finish, please. I have one more thing to say, and that's it. Thank you. I don't know the answers to these, and let me tell you that I am not being accusatory at all. It's just a question that if I don't know, I want to know for sure that you know. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Tracy Davis. Tracy Davis. Jack, will you please reset the timer?
Good evening, President Bartle and members of the Governing Board. My name is Tracy Davis, 11710 North Thunderbird Road, Maricopa. Let me begin by saying that It was probably 2 weeks ago. I heard a rumor from a community member that Ms. Reese was not going to be renewed. How a community member would know that 2 weeks ago, I have no idea. I'll let you guys chew on that to talk to your administration about. What I'm going to say tonight, when I first saw the agenda on Friday, the first agenda that was released, and saw the personnel schedule and the proposed non-renewal of Ms. Reese, I sat down and started writing this letter and worked on it throughout the weekend. The action has since changed to resignation. I understand how a non-renewal can be a black mark on one's professional record. It is understood that a contract only guarantees employment for said school year unless otherwise stated. What I'm having trouble with is understanding why Ms. Reese's non-renewal was proposed in the first place. I understand personnel laws and their intricacies. I would hope that the board was given sufficient justification to propose a non-renewal, which is now a moot point due to the change as a resignation. However, I hope questions were raised when this was first brought up as a non-renewal and later changed to a resignation. In its brief history, the new location of MES has struggled with adequate yearly progress, or AYP, as we in the education world know it. When Ms. Reese was appointed as the new principal, there were immediate changes. Expectations were put in place that would outline how to help students succeed. As is human nature, some have difficulty with change. Some are satisfied with the status quo and will dig in their heels to resist change. One definition of change is, quote, to give a completely different form of appearance or to transform, end quote. At MES, there has definitely been a change in appearance.
20 seconds, Mrs. Davis.
I believe that when Ms. Reese was placed in this position, she probably understood that it was going to be difficult to change a culture, a long-standing culture at MES, that the status quo was okay. I'm going to try to wrap this up. I had a little more that I wanted to say to you. In closing, I will just say, I believe she knew this was not going to be simple, and she was not in it for it to be a popularity contest. She was tasked with turning around a school, and she has turned that school around. In closing, whatever the reason for proposing a non-renewal, I hope that the following thoughts take place. Is it legal? Is it ethical? Is it right for students and staff? Let's not buy into gossip. Let's have facts. Let's separate personal from personnel. If decisions are made based on gossip, one-sided stories, and who's who, but not merit or substantiated evidence, then I ask that as a district you look within yourselves and ask, are we okay with the status quo, or do we truly want to raise expectations? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis. Next up is Barbara Schmidt. And for the couple dozen more that we have, folks, please prioritize your comments because we will go to the next speaker after 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, President and board members and audience. My name is Barbara Schmidt. I live at 45203 West Desert Lane in Maricopa. I'm an employee of 6 years with Maricopa Elementary School District. I was made aware of April 11th meeting agenda where Mrs. Raquel Reese, the principal of Maricopa Elementary School, is under a non-renewal contract. I'm shocked to hear that after 2 years of bringing up the school's wide scores, she is not being asked to rejoin the Maricopa staff. Her sole purpose of her employment at MES was to turn the school scores around. She clearly accomplished that, her goals and more. She not only turned the scores around, but she also created a safe, secure, and caring environment through the Character Counts program. She invested in her teachers to accomplish this with her. Losing her will be so upsetting to our students, parents, staff, and community. Please do not accept her resignation. I would also like an explanation, if possible, what the protocol is for a principal who was hired intentionally to take a school out of corrective action. If the principal does his or her job well and brings the school out of corrective action after 2 years, why is she let go? Whereas a principal who has not taken a school out of corrective action has not been let go. What does the bylaws say in regards to this issue? On a side note, I was made aware that our school district has lost the ACHIN grant funding for next year. I have heard 3 reasons. First, ACHIN does not think the scores were that good. Second, ACHIN doesn't like the way we spend the money. And third, the school district did not fill out the correct paperwork. So what's true? What does this mean? Will we lose 1 kindergarten teacher? Will we lose 1 first grade teacher? Will we lose 1 second grade teacher? And will we lose 4 professional at each school? I believe it does. What are the facts? Over $1 million is lost for our district. How could this happen? I would like an explanation. Many jobs relied on the ACHIN donation grant for 2012 and 14. How do you expect to support these district employees? Please explain this to our district in writing as soon as possible with a letter from the city, ACHIN, and the district on the reasons why we have no grant for 2012-14. I would like to know. I'd like to close in saying that the pride in our school is obvious. When you see our school scores, I would like to continue this positive learning environment for all our children at MES. The pride in our community has improved drastically over the past 2 years. The Maricopa Unified School District should praise Mrs. Reese and her staff for building a positive reinforcement of higher education at our district. It was a privilege to work there with everyone. I was just told today that I have lost my job.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Schmidt.
Thank you very much.
Jeanette Breeden. Jeanette Breeden.
Good evening. My name is Jeanette Breeden. I live in 44765 West Horse Mesa Road. I would like to address the board on the matter concerning Mrs. Reese's contract renewal and her subsequent resignation. I am a member of the MES PTO. My son is in first grade, and first and foremost, I would like to thank Mrs. Reese and all the teachers from MES for their hard work to make the school a better place of learning for our kids. I have been able to see what these teachers have done under the direction of Mrs. Reese. I have seen the frustration, the long hours, the countless meetings, and the planning that happened last year and this year. And these efforts have resulted in the school's ability to meet the AYP targets last year and hopefully this year also. Mrs. Reese came to MES for the sole purpose of taking the school out of corrective action, and she has done this. It is not an easy task. Someone placed in that position is not going to be liked by everyone. And every decision that she's made is not going to be a decision that everybody's going to be pleased with. But she was there to do a job, to bring up the standards for our children, for our parents, and for the teachers. All of these members, all of these staff, they work very hard. And I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they put their all into those classrooms and into the children. My son has had, last year when I came to this school, I was thinking this is going to be the first and the last year. I will take him to Kyrene. I work in Tempe. I can drop him off. And this year, it has been a total turnaround. Mrs. Jenkins has done tremendous, it's a miracle what she has done. Mrs. Reese, her enthusiasm, her passion is obvious. And I was so appalled to hear that her contract will not be renewed. I want to know, like many others, why this decision? I want to see the facts. I want to see if it was something that was not ethical, something that, she broke some rules. I want to see it in writing, because I have not seen anything, and I don't work there. I'm not a teacher, but I spend a lot of time there as a PTO member. And I have never seen this woman in any other spirits, even after I heard that this was happening. Last night we had a meeting, and all she could talk about was aims. We need to get this aims higher, and we need to get the students riled up, and we need to let them know that they can do it. I did not see a woman that had just resigned from a position. I did not see a woman that was not renewed for next year. I saw someone that still cared 100% for my child and all the children in that school. And because of that, that's the kind of principal I want. That's the kind of administration that I want in that school. And I hope that you will not accept her resignation. I hope that you can reconsider the actions or whatever it was that brought this decision and make a different decision. I would like to thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dorothy Jones. Dorothy Jones. On deck is Danica Sala.
Good evening. My name is Dorothy Jones. My address is P.O. Box 95, Maricopa, Arizona. And I'm the mother of 2 children at Maricopa Elementary School. And I feel that if you accept Mrs. Reese's resignation, it will be detrimental to their education. Simple as that. Thank you.
Thank you. Danica Sala, followed by Osama Sala.
Thank you. I'm a parent of 4 kids at
Please
Maricopa.
state your name and address for the record.
Sorry. My name is Danica Sala, 43979 West Buckhorn Trail, Maricopa. I'm a parent of 4 kids at Maricopa Elementary School. I was also a parent in the beginning of the year that had a problem at the school. I came to the board because of that problem, and the only person in this district that would hear me was the principal I had a problem with. And when I went to her and asked her for her help, she completely changed my opinion and my view on her. She has a passion for these kids and this school that you guys don't seem to see or understand. I went in there wanting her removed, and I feel bad about that. But now after working with her, she's there for my kids, and I don't know if I could look at another principal or even look at this district after what my kids have been through. This principal needs to stay, and I think it'd be detrimental to my kids if you accept her resignation. I would probably pull my kids out of this district. Thank you.
Thank you. Osama Sala, followed by Margaret Noble Jackson.
Hello, how you doing? Osama Sala, 43979 West Buckhorn. My wife is Danica Sala. I'm here to support Mrs. Risa. I would wish if you guys just decline her resignation. She has done a fabulous job in turning our school around in 2 years, and I've seen that improvement on my kids. So I appreciate it if you guys just decline her resignation. Thank you.
Thank you. Margaret Jackson, followed by Linda Savage.
Margaret Noble Jackson, 7188 North Hidden Valley Road. Thank you very much for letting us address you. I want to ask you to not accept Mrs. Reese's resignation. I want you to know I have 2 kids at Maricopa Elementary. The environment there has changed dramatically. It is a family-friendly, warm place where 2 years ago it was not. She is fair, she is kind, and she lives the character she preaches. And in my mind, when someone has turned a school around and positive things are happening, we need to keep that consistent so that the performance can go up and up and up. We are going to become the greatest district in the nation, I believe. But we've got to be consistent and keep those people that care about kids. And she is fair and honest. She practices what she preaches, and she needs, it'll be sad to me if this district lets her go. Please do not accept her resignation. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Savage, followed by Manny Barajas.
Hi, my name is Linda Savage. Address is 45554 West Keller Drive. I'm here tonight to discuss Maricopa Elementary School Principal Rochelle Reese. I am aware that she has tendered her resignation, and I would like to make a plea to the board. Do not accept it. I have been an active parent at MES and involved with the PTO since my children began attending, and I've experienced firsthand the powerful and positive spirit Mrs. Reese brings to students and the staff. She has done what many thought was impossible. Rochelle Reese was brought to our school at the beginning of last school year. She was given the task of leading us out of corrective action within a 2-year time frame. As we near the end of the second year, I think it is very clear that she has managed to soar beyond meeting every expectation. Anybody who spends any time at the school knows that Mrs. Reese is wholeheartedly committed to the kids. She knows their potential, and she pushes them to their limits. Her expectations are high, and students and staff strive to meet those expectations. Rochelle has pioneered the Character Counts program at MES. This program has been instrumental in the success of our school. She doesn't just preach the character, she demonstrates it on a daily basis. Students yearn to be recognized for their character, and it is something they will carry with them long after they leave MES. Under Rochelle's guidance, teachers and staff have given everything they have to students and parents in order to prove that they are what I already knew they could be. Our school has accomplished so much with Mrs. Reese at the helm. She has pushed teachers to be the very best that they can for the children, and that is everything we could ask for as parents. I am not interested in being a part of a district that overlooks a person's dedication to the success of my children. As a parent of 2 kids at MES, I fully expect that the elected school board officials will make a decision based on the best interest of the kids and the kids only. And fighting to keep Rochelle Reese is definitely the best thing that could be for the kids. And I too, along with other parents, feel that if this is not something that, if she is pulled out and she doesn't come back to the school, I will definitely be pulling my children out. When I first moved here from Washington State and my kids attended some of the top schools there, I was extremely disappointed. I was told by neighbors, that the school board, the schools here are awful. By Mrs. Reese and being a part of MES, which was considered one of the bad schools in the district, so I had heard a ton of times from everybody.
Thank you for your comments,
I was
Ms.
pleasantly
Savage.
surprised, and so thank you for your time.
Manny Barajas, followed by Paul Jepson.
Thank you for this opportunity. One of the things that I've learned throughout my life, I remember reading several years ago when I lived in Washington, opened up this book and it said, "Consider everything pure joy." Doesn't seem like joy right now, but something to learn. I do not claim to be perfect. However, I have done nothing wrong. or to be ashamed of. Desert Wind has enjoyed a lot of success. I like to feel that I was part of it. But Barajas are hard workers. That's one of the things my father taught me. I would gladly put my record as an administrator against anybody. One of the things I've also learned is sometimes it's not if it's right or wrong. Sometimes it's who makes a decision. I do know that one way or another I will land on my feet, and I wish Maricopa Unified School District the very best. Sometimes what I've learned also is that there's a time for everything. And right now I'm not necessarily fighting for my job, but I am fighting for what is right. I was given an assessment that I do not necessarily agree with. Again, when it's all said and done, I think we'll all be okay. And I guess the last thing that I'll say, Rochelle, tremendous principal. And I would say that if a principal that turned around a school is right here in the same place I'm in, we all need to be there. She did a tremendous job.
Thank you, Mr. Barajas. Paul Jepson, followed by Wes Harris.
Mr. President, members of the board, Paul Jepson, City of Maricopa staff. The City of Maricopa is the pass-through agency for the Auction grant. The grant was awarded to MUSC in the spring of 2010. It was a 2-year grant, and that 2-year cycle will end at the end of this school year. It is ending because the grant has been completed for no other reason. I just wanted to put that into the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jepson. Mr. Harris, followed by Jairus Weiss.
Mr. President, members of the board, my name is Wes Harris. I reside at 14802 North Coral Gables Drive in Phoenix. That's far north side. I'm here to speak to the issue of the Pledge of Allegiance and the alleged bullying of the student at Maricopa. When I received word of that, I immediately called the superintendent's office, and I never received a call back. So I decided I'd drive down here and talk to you. As a veteran, as a founder of the Tea Party in North Phoenix, and having observed the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of this meeting, I think that that is the way I would like to see all the school classes conduct their daily day, and start it with the Pledge of Allegiance. And to not do so, and to have a teacher who does not stand, sets the wrong example, and a teacher that would tolerate and or bully a student is inexcusable. And if there's not disciplinary action as a result, then I think you're doing a disservice to your school district, you're doing a disservice to this state, you're doing a disservice to this nation. This cannot be tolerated. This is a great country. When I went through school, I said the Pledge of Allegiance every morning, all the way through high school. I took examinations on it, on our documents. And I believe that I should see nothing less for my students, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Harris, for your comments and for your service. Jairus Weiss, I believe it is, followed by Gordon Hack.
Mr. President, good evening. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, my name is Jairus Weiss, 45571 Barber Lane, Maricopa, Arizona. I'm not very good at public speaking. I teach second grade. It's a lot easier for me. But The reason I'm here before you with all the nerves and probably the shaking voice is because I'm here with the rest of MES staff in regards to Mrs. Reese's resignation. I'm going to put all that aside and say that I'm here as a parent. My daughter starts MES in August. She's going to be a kindergartner there. She's really excited. She's already established Mrs. Reese as her principal. My daughter has what's called the only child syndrome still, although I do have a son who's going to be a year old. She was the only child, both on my side and my wife's side, and has been a handful. But yet, every time we bring her to the school, she's just like the rest of the student, following character. Character counts for her. And all I can think of is how disappointed she's going to be when I tell her that Mrs. Reese will no longer be her principal. I ask that you think of the best interest of us as teachers and as our children, and not consider to accept Mrs. Reese's resignation. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mr. Slice. Gordon Hack, and on deck is Darlene Jenkins.
Thank you. My name is Gordon Hack. I reside at 1695 West 13th Avenue in Apache Junction. I'm here in response to the pledge thing. I'm a 84-year-old Army Air Force veteran with 3 grandchildren on active duty. According to the Webster New World Dictionary, patriotism is love and loyal or zealous support of one's own country. In these times of political correctness and the use of the think outside the box attitude, it is an insult to all those who have served and who in many cases gave their lives. By chastising people for respecting our flag and their desire to publicly display their heartfelt patriotism. Those who are disrespectful and unappreciative should be taught and then teach the history of the greatest place on earth, in conjunction with learning and teaching the meaning of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I thank you, and God bless the patriots of America.
Thank you, Mr. Hack. And thank you, sir, for your service. Darlene Jenkins, followed by Tina Leach.
Good evening, board members. My name is Darlene Jenkins. I live at 1870 North Smith Drive. I've never spoken at one of these, so I'm a bit nervous. But tonight, we honored 2 teachers working on recruiting and retaining students here in Maricopa. However, one of the best principals in our district is not having her contract renewed. I've taught at Maricopa Elementary School since the day it opened. I taught when there were no locks on the doors. I taught when there were 2 grade levels in 1 classroom there. And I'm telling you, the last 2 years have been my best years ever teaching in this district because of Rochelle Reese. I have no other words to say other than I do wish that you would not let her resign her position. Yes, she's tough. She's tough as nails. I'm sure she's made lots of enemies. I'm sure. However, when you're good and when you have a vision, you will make enemies. That's just a part of the game. But my heart is that she has a heart for students. And our school completely turned around. The morale of the students turned around. The teachers who loved teaching, their hearts turned around as well. Those who didn't, they're gone, or they're complaining. But I tell you what, those who complain don't do. Those who do don't complain. So the point is, I'm here in support of our principal because she has done an outstanding job. And just like we celebrated 2 teachers who are trying to recruit and retain students, where's the celebration of a principal who gave her heart and soul and turned a school around that everyone had, you know what? Our school always got talked about. We were the ghetto school of the district. okay? I can say it. But she turned it around, okay? We had a terrible reputation, but our students proved everyone wrong. They proved that they had ability, and our teachers proved that we are worth time and energy and money. And now we need your support as the board to keep good people in place so that our school will continue to do good and great things. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. Tina Leach, followed by Kathy Jerome.
Hello, my name is Tina Leach. I live at 41649 West Corvallis Lane. Good evening, President Bartle and governing board members. I can only begin by saying I am utterly at a loss for words. I am absolutely in shock after hearing that Mrs. Reese will not be returning as principal to Maricopa Elementary School next year. After moving to Maricopa Elementary School, we've had to overcome many challenges along the way. The first and most important was that we needed to make AYP after not doing so for the previous 5 years. Change was not necessarily welcomed, but needed. It takes courage to do this, courage with which Mrs. Reese exhibited. She visited classrooms regularly and was a visible presence. Our school culture also needed change. Through the Character Counts program, she has also led the way to a transformation not only of student behavior, but beautified the school as well. It is now a welcoming, safe, and inviting place for our children to learn. Our school pledge has been painted on the walls for us to never forget the words, MES, building character for success. We've all worked very hard under Mrs. Reese's direction. Last year, we made AYP, and hopefully we will do the same this year. I'm sorry. I guess I just don't understand how or why someone who has a passion for helping students be successful will not be returning next year. That is something I absolutely adore about Mrs. Reese, her passion and drive to motivate and keep us moving forward. We can't afford to go back, and that's a fact. I'm concerned that this may disrupt the forward momentum we have worked so hard to achieve, and I do not think that this is something we can afford. I am asking you respectfully to not accept her letter of resignation and keep Mrs. Reese as principal of Maricopa Elementary School next year so we can continue our forward momentum. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Leach. Kathy Jerome, followed by Nancy Guggisberg.
My name is Kathy Jerome. I live at 2607 East Silverwood Drive in Phoenix, Arizona. This is my first year teaching kindergarten and MES. Since joining the team, the mission has been clear. We are going to turn this school around. We are going to get out from an underperforming label. And we are going to do this by giving our students the highest quality education available anywhere in Arizona. As our leader, Rochelle Reese has encouraged, supported, and motivated us to stay focused on achieving our mission while working hard to build a strong collaborative team. I have experienced Rochelle to be honest, fair, kind, and caring while demanding the very best from herself and her staff. She has been inspirational and a wonderful mentor and motivator. As a staff, we have faced some tough challenges this year, and Rochelle has done a wonderful job of guiding us through them. Rochelle truly embodies the traits she espouses through the Character Counts program. In her daily messages, her weekly newsletter, and her staff meetings, she encourages students and staff to live the traits as we learn and grow on the path to success. I am confident that we will shed our underperforming label this year, but I know that we will not be satisfied until we achieve the label of excelling as an A+ school, because that is the greatest contribution we can give to our students, our families, and the Maricopa community. I ask the board to reject Rochelle Reese's resignation and implore her to continue her hard work and her leadership as the job is not yet finished.
Thank you. Nancy Guggisberg. On deck is Jim Ertz.
Nancy Guggisberg, 121 South Nebraska Street, Chandler, soon to be new resident of Maricopa. President Bartle, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening. I became an employee of Maricopa Unified School District last year when I was hired to teach first grade at MES. I came into the school not knowing a lot about the district and not knowing a lot about the school. It was obvious from the beginning. The tension was palpable when you'd walk in the front door of the school. I've had the opportunity to work for Mrs. Reese. She put together an awesome team of professionals within our building as well as with members of our district here. She has always led by example with the utmost level of professionalism. It is a joy to work for this woman. She raised the bar not only for our students to make AYP and for us to become a performing school, but she raised the bar for us as educators. The status quo was no longer acceptable. She's provided the leadership, she has provided the training, she has provided the mentor. I can honestly say to anyone, I am a better teacher because I have had the privilege of working for Mrs. Reese. She puts her money where her mouth is. She gets up every day, she comes in, she works very hard, but she sets the pace for us. Some of those voices that were grumbling last year are still grumbling. And unfortunately, sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the grease. It's a shame we haven't come before you prior to this opportunity to express to you how much we enjoy working for her and what a wonderful job she has done. My students are doing better. My parent involvement is better. The atmosphere in our school is better. We have created, under her leadership, a culture of community in our school that we should all be proud of. I have no doubt in my mind that under her direction, we will become an excelling school within 5 years. I am amazed that there's even one other school in the state that has made AYP and taken themselves out of corrective action in 2 years. In 2 years, what an incredible accomplishment. One of her favorite sayings, which my kids say all the time, we're going places. My first graders are talking about going to college, and they're not just talking about going to college, they're talking about going to Harvard or Yale or becoming things that they want to aspire to their dream that they are going to grow and want to become. Don't send us backward. We are going places. Keep us going in the right direction. This kind of a decision is not only demoralizing for our students, it's demoralizing for our parents. It's demoralizing for our professional educators that we have in our school. She's put together an outstanding team. Please, please do not accept her resignation. Don't send us back 2 years and make us start all over again. Keep that momentum going. We've got an incredible staff, and we've got an incredible group of children. We've got wonderful parents. Please, please do not accept her letter of resignation.
I apologize for mispronouncing your name.
Oh, that's okay. I spell it all the time. Thank you.
Jim Ertz, followed by John Crossan Harper.
Evening, Board and citizens of Maricopa. I wasn't planning on actually speaking today, but when I got here, I decided I wanted to at least speak my mind. As a vet, and my father was a vet, and my grandfather was a vet, I just can't believe that I've heard that the Pledge of Allegiance is a voluntary thing. I never knew that. Growing up, we've all spoke the Pledge of Allegiance and abided by it for years. I never thought in my lifetime I'd ever hear that it was voluntary. When I read the comments in Maricopa.com last night, I actually have 2 daughters in Maricopa High School. I woke them up last night and I asked them about the Pledge of Allegiance. And they basically told me it's voluntary. Most students sit, teachers sit, they text, they're grading papers. I've never in my life heard of that. I never knew that existed. I never knew I'd ever think of ever hearing it existed. And for me, being a vet, and my whole family of people who have served this country and everybody else who has served our country to not give the observance. If you don't believe in God, you could skip that part, but at least have the decency to stand and show your allegiance to your flag. I can't believe it's even conceivable that it's happened. I would have never imagined it. And when I woke up my daughters and I was told that it does exist and that it doesn't, people don't stare at the flag, they don't stand, they're doing other things. I've never heard of that. I just can't understand how it's happening. And as a father of 4 children, I never thought in my time I'd ever hear the fact that it's something that's voluntary. And, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to say my name and my address. I do thank you for your time. My name is Jim Ritz. I live in Maricopa. I'm in Hidden Valley at 12234 North Tabletop Road. Thank you for your time, Board.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Ritz, and thank you for your service. John? Following is Joe Darling.
My name is John Crossan. I live at 43961 West Kramer here in Maricopa. Thanks for listening. I'm a 24-year veteran, and I'm like Jim, a bit appalled. I guess the world has changed more than I reckoned. In my day, peer pressure alone would stop anybody from not respecting God and country. And I guess times have changed, but it's sad. I think it's a lack of respect to the parents, too, because they impart that to the children, and the kids come to school, and it just seems, it's sad that kids nowadays don't seem to have much of a passion for life. They don't respect anything, and it's cool not to respect things. The establishment, you know, anything. And I think the teachers need to be a leader in showing the right way. Moral compasses, if you will. And for us to pass on this and not admire this young lady for standing up for what I believe is right. I served 24 years in the American military, and I wasn't even a citizen. I love America, and I'm really upset when somebody disses our beautiful country. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Crossan, and thank you for your service. Joe Darling, followed by Buckley Merrill.
Members of the board, Mr. President, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Joe Darling. I live at 630 West 2nd Place, Mesa, Arizona. I'm a proud American. I'm also a legal American citizen. I have a son who served 20 years in the United States Air Force. He knew in junior high school he was going to stand up and pledge allegiance and say an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. He knew what that meant. I am the grandmother of 9 grandchildren. They're spread out in schools across this country. I have encouraged every one of their parents to take their children out of the public educational system and homeschool them because of former President James Carter and the NEA. They have consistently dumbed down our educational system until children in this nation, and it's been for several generations now, do not know what that flag means, do not know what the Constitution stands for. They view it as an old, dusty document that has no meaning. It's outdated, and that to me is absolutely outrageous. I am here tonight to support this young lady who stood up, placed her hand across her heart, and said the Pledge of Allegiance. I am proud of her. I give her parents and her grandparents so much respect. They have taught this girl what this flag means and what the Constitution means, and she is proud of her country. This is the greatest nation in the world. I am grateful to be able to stand here tonight in the presence of so many veterans who have fought for this country. There's World War II veterans in this audience tonight. There are people who went to Okinawa, and they went to Japan, and they went to Korea, and they went to Vietnam, and they stood up and they fought for this country. And to have a teacher sit there and mock and ridicule a student who is proud of her country, this should not be. This teacher should at least stand up, put their hands on their hearts, and lead by example. Thank you.
Buckley Merrill, followed by Candace.
Hello, I'm Buckley Merrill, and I live at 208 South Horn in Mesa, and I want to thank all of you for allowing me to speak. I'm talking about the pledge issue. I'm quite confident that no one here in this room or anywhere in the city or whatever would actually advocate not standing and saying the pledge and honoring and revering this nation. I think what the issue is basically where the solutions are coming in. I hope to offer a little solution as opposed to whatever, just something for you to think about. Now the thing is, I don't want to force and manipulate and coerce the teacher to do something against his will, because that, of course, would violate the Constitution. Now, of course, as the superintendent talked about, it is the state law where, I think it's, what is it, Title 15, Section 508, Clause 3 and 4, which basically provides that the pledge should be mentioned, or the pledge should be said and that kind of stuff. So the solution isn't on the state level because that's already provided for. So something for you to consider. One thing that has been mentioned is, say for example, if the example set by that teacher does not match what is happening, or the example that the community wishes to have, would you offer perhaps an opportunity for members of the community to come in and set that example instead of forcing the teacher to? Therefore, in one way, it goes back to the original founding idea of this country, which basically allows checks and balances by the citizens of different representatives of their government. So that's just something for you to consider, where you would allow the parents and the other community members, like members of the Legion and so on, to come in and perhaps, well, safeguard that the state law is being followed, and also perhaps share a story of why it is so important to them, to make sure that children understand, like the other people who have spoken before me, because this is by far the #1 best country on planet Earth, period. And so that's just something for you to think about. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Candace, followed by Judy Holsker.
Hi, I'm Candace, and I'm 16.
Candace, if you would, give us your last name and your address too, please, for the record.
Okay. I'm Candace Holscher. I live on 515 Carefree Highway, Phoenix, Arizona. I'm 16. I am a high schooler, and all I wanted to say was that I proudly stand and support Beth, who was brave enough to stand up and say the pledge, though her classmates would not. And I just want to say that I hope that all high schoolers out there would stand up and do what I do and just support her, because I think she was brave, and I think I just will follow her example. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Holscher. Judy Holscher, followed by Jason Beach.
Hi there, 515 Carefree Highway, Phoenix, Arizona. I'm here to also speak on the issue regarding the Pledge of Allegiance. I believe that the school district's heavy-handed investigation of a young patriot who chose to observe the pledge is reprehensible, and I want you to know that you are not the last word. We the people are, and we will continue to have the back of any young patriot who chooses to give voice to this issue. It's an issue that someday one of these young people will look back on and say to their own kids, I stood up for my country and its symbol. I stood up for principle. I stood up for those who died. So a teacher like Mr. Allman could have the freedom to say in his classroom, no, I do not want to stand and pay respect to my country. There are countries in this world that if a teacher behaved the way Mr. Allman does, he'd be thrown in jail and killed. I know, because my parents fled one of those countries, and they came here, and they pledge allegiance to this flag in this country, and they're proud and grateful for that privilege. And I'm just really outraged at the treatment of this young girl and how the investigation was held. And I want these young people to be able to say to their kids, I stood for freedom, and I was proud to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason Beach, followed by Jane Friedman.
My name is Jason Beach. I live at 21947 North Gibson, and I am the proud parent of Beth Beach. Having been in education 13 years, principal and K-9 teacher, I have 5 kids here in Maricopa, 3 at the high school and 2 at Pima Butte. We've invested our time and our efforts here with Maricopa and wanted to make a stand that we can contribute and make this a good community. I'm thrilled to be able to stand here today to talk about my daughter as being, on March 28th, the only person within that room to stand for the pledge, okay, that day. Now, it'd be unfortunate that if my daughter was not there that day, how many people would have actually stood up. Now, in respect of another young lady that normally does stand, she normally stands, and it takes courage for her to stand as well. It takes courage to do that. So my daughter stood up for the pledge, was unable to find the flag for whatever reason. I don't think maliciously it was moved. She was trying to find it. And then to look to her teacher for help in trying to say the pledge and find the flag, he turned his face and did not help her in her time of need. The next week, the pledge was not offered 2 days that week. It was not offered at all 2 days that next week. We talked about state law. I hope that we can start to make a better efforts on that. I do acknowledge the right that a person has to choose to not say the pledge. I acknowledge that right. Please consider that as others fail to stand for the pledge, how soon before the ability to disagree is taken away from you and from me. I would present that the choice to not stand for the pledge changes the very ground we all stand. It makes it more dangerous. This is the greatest country in the world, and I know we should all be standing together to not only celebrate our rights, but to defend them. Another thing I'm very excited about is the positive impact that as Principal Sala has said, from the mouth of babes. And I'm glad she said it, because it opened my eyes to what my daughter is doing. The positive impact that is coming in the district of the partnership, of celebrating veterans that have served, and the recognition of how important the pledge is a positive impact. And sometimes we have to go through the darkness to get into the light. And maybe we're starting to see some of the light. And I know that as we work together, partners, that this can be, along with principles we're talking about today, this can be a great community if we stand and work together.
Please conclude your comments, Mr. Beach.
I appreciate your time. Thank you. And again, I'm glad of this sound of my daughter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beach. Jane Friedman, followed by Ray Sweeney.
My name is Jane Friedman, and I come from Cave Creek, all the way down here. It's beautiful down here. I'm not a member of any party, any organization. I'm just a United States citizen. I'm not here to talk about feelings. I'm here to talk about facts. I'd like to just address a few points tonight regarding Mr. Allman and the pledge. To me, does Mr. Allman stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? And if not, why not? If he does not, this would be an expression of Mr. Allman's opinion of our country's symbol of freedom, patriotism.
I'm sorry, I have to object for using a person's name. I like
Ms. Osborne, can you clarify
about that?
I think that personal attacks would probably not be appropriate.
And I guess I personally object to using people's names because that is not what we're here to do.
Ms. Friedman, please speak in general terms.
Such a cavalier approach by a teacher would speak volumes. A teacher in a position of influence and power who demonstrates that the Pledge of Allegiance is as inconsequential as deciding whether or not you want cheese on your pizza is just wrong on so many levels. These kids who attend your school are the future of this country. Their greatness and their courage is yet to be determined. We, the adults, are the ones who steer the ship they're on right now. It's incredibly hard for a teen to rev up his courage engine when their teacher has as much enthusiasm for the flag as a yawn. And by the way, also has the power to grade them. It takes a Beth to face the ho-hum, big deal, just a piece of cloth attitude, and instead stand up for veterans who've given their life, in many cases parts of their body, and stand up with respect for one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. It would be good to hear one patriotic teen voice who chooses not to take sides, except the side of the flag of the United States and the republic for which it stands. I'd like to hear it, but after reading the press releases, I can see, it appears to me, that the message to your students is, if you file a complaint about any of our staff, we'll make sure that you are publicly, perhaps humiliated.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Friedman.
I'm almost done.
You're out.
You're out of time.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Ray Sweeney, followed by Tina Dugan.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the school board, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ray Sweeney. I'm a U.S. Marine veteran of Vietnam. I'm here to speak on the issue of the lack of respect that was given to that young high school child here in Maricopa School for standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. If nothing else, I hope that the school board and the ladies and gentlemen in the audience here come away with the feeling tonight that maybe you thought it wasn't a very big deal when you got here this evening. Know this, it's a very big deal this evening. I watched men die for that flag, and a lot of people who gave blood so that Mr. Allman could have the benefit of not standing to our Pledge of Allegiance.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I think people need to be warned not to make personal attacks on people. I have no problem.
Another
with your
reminder,
opinion,
please do not address anyone
personal
individually. Talk about the issues,
wanna
not
say
people.
this.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney.
We owe it, folks, to ourselves to thank God for the opportunity of growing up and serving in a country like this. There is no other country on this planet that equals the abilities and the opportunities that this country offers. And I ask you to stand behind that child who stood up and had the courage to stand, because that's what made this country great, the courage to stand. And I thank her, and I thank you.
Before you, Mr. Sweeney, would you please, for the record, give us your address?
Sure.
Would you speak your address into the microphone for the record? Would you please speak your address into the microphone for the record? Thank you. Yes, sir.
To speak into the microphone?
Just give us your address for the record.
Pardon me?
Your address. Where do you live?
Oh, my address. I live at 6131 North 16th Street in Phoenix, Arizona.
Thank you for your comments, and thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Tina Dugan, followed by Sydney Akers.
Hello, my name is Tina Dugan. I live at 43156 West Highway 84. I am an open enrollment parent with 4 children in Maricopa Unified School District, and I'm very proud that they go here. I'm here on behalf of the high school baseball and softball teams, I sent you all an invite, but I wanted to do it in person. Friday night, we invite everyone to come out and support our kids, become a neighbor. I sit on the retention committee, and this was one of our ideas. Our varsity teams, which is unusual, are playing at home at 7 o'clock on Friday. We're going to have a t-shirt toss. We had special t-shirts made, all paid for by the Booster Club. We're going to have a DJ. We're going to honor our sponsors, and we're also going to honor some of our teachers who have touched our athletes. So we invite you all to come out. Teachers will be honored at 6:30. Games start at 7. And we're going to have prizes. Every student from Maricopa, whether they go to a charter school or to our wonderful district schools, comes up to the snack bar, they get a free drink, and they'll be entered into a drawing to win a prize. So we hope to see you all there. And just one last thing, Mrs. Reese touched my children in a wonderful way, and I'm sorry to see her go. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Breeden. Sydney Akers.
Hi, my name is Sydney Akers, and I live at 44461 West Adobe Circle. I was present during the pledge incident. I'm in that class, and I stand for the pledge every day. The one day that I didn't stand for the pledge is the day that the incident happened, which is kind of ironic. I think that it is great when kids stand for the pledge, and I respect every single veteran in here, and I think it's wonderful what all of you have done. And I also want to make it known that we're the class that we're in, we take European history, so it's not really, I don't want to say it's not the teacher's place to teach us the Constitution, but if we were to learn a Constitution, it would probably be better to learn a European Constitution, since that's the class we're in. But I think that it is more the parents' responsibility to teach the children to stand for the pledge than it is for the teacher to need to teach the students to stand and say the pledge, because it's not their responsibility. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Akers. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board? Seeing no one, we will move on to item 4, governing board member activity reports.
Yeah, one brief one. This Friday at Butterfield, we're starting the automotive engineering program with Nissan. So if you have a chance to come over, Nissan has had 4 volunteers, and we're really excited about the partnership with Nissan and actually see our 5th graders build cars. So if you get a chance to come on over, it's 9 o'clock at Butterfield Elementary.
Thank you. Mrs. Anderson.
One thing, I was able to, I don't know if any of you attended the academic leagues, but Santa Cruz was challenging Pima Butte. Yes, Pima Butte didn't win this time. But it's a whole different sport. If you have not come out to see these kids, it is pretty interesting and it's pretty fun. So it's great to see them celebrating being smart and seeing the room packed full of parents. So if you have not attended one of those, please do so. But it's pretty interesting, these 4th and 5th graders. I didn't even know the answers to some of the questions. So are you smarter than a 5th grader is playing out. So that was really neat.
Thank you. Anything else? Number 5, information items. Dr. Conley?
Governing Board, I do have an exhibit that was placed in your packet. It is an informational item only. As an exhibit to a policy, as you know, it is an exhibit or a regulation and not required for you to approve, but it's rather for your information. I do ask for your input and any questions or concerns that you may have about that. Mr. Irving.
Yeah, I have a comment. It's about each student, grades 4 through 6, shall recite the following passage of the Declaration. I think that's a wonderful idea, but especially hearing what we heard then, I would like to see us maybe modify that to say it's actually taught as opposed to kids just standing up and reciting something that they don't understand. So, it's just a suggestion that maybe we put a little more emphasis on, the meaning, so in the class, kids can talk about it and what it actually means, including the flag and all that. Like what Councilman Grassi said, that kind of concept that we're not just having somebody stand up and recite something, but actually get a discussion on it.
The exhibit itself is the actual form for the written form for the meditation and the patriotic observances.
Mm-hmm.
For that policy in particular that you're talking about, we would need to add it to another governing board, so add it to the next governing board to discuss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And that's specifically taken out of state statute, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
No, I just would like to see it on another agenda to address procedures.
Yep.
Thank you. Next. Next item is Galileo Benchmark, quarterly data review of student achievement.
Again, there was information placed in your packet with our third quarter benchmark data for our students, and it does give you comparisons accordingly. So if you do have questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you.
Self-explanatory.
And finally, the review of Maricopa High School Athletic Code of Conduct Expectations.
In your packet, you were given a revision to the high school athletic code of conduct expectations that was in the high school athletic handbook, clarifying code of conduct expectations.
Well, I've got a couple of questions, Dr. Conlon.
Mrs. Coutray.
Thank you, President Bartle. I went through this, and this is not the first time that I've spoke about this. We have academic requirements that are pretty vague. The student must pass all classes, and I'm only assuming that a D means passing. I still have a big issue with that. I think our athletes should be held accountable for a C average. If they fall to a D, I think they should be given the opportunity in 2 weeks' time to bring it up to a C. And when this came about, the first time I spoke about this, I asked if we had the support in place to assist these students, and if we were working on making sure that we have the tools that they could improve their grades. I haven't heard anything more about that, and then this comes through again. And the other question I have, too, is about their behavior, suspension, hazing, bullying, theft, vandalism. Those all should be, they're done with the team. This is behavior. We need to start holding our students accountable for their behavior. At the high school level, they should know right from wrong. And this policy, and I know that it's standard for all the other high schools out there, and it's standard on the AIA or whatever the rules are, but we don't have to be like other schools. It's time that we raise above and hold our students accountable. And I really would like to see this.
I will pass that on to Mr. Winter, who is our high school athletic director, and also Ms. Salaya, our high school principal.
Thank you.
I have a couple just grammatical type things, but on the
And, sorry, that was a draft. I wanted to make sure that it's being edited severely.
Yes.
Okay, then I will save those comments, because I'm sure they'll all be rectified in the next version.
Probably, hopefully.
Any other questions on that item? No. Review IGA with City of Maricopa, mid-year update of field use.
I'll ask Mr. Rausch.
We received that information in the packet, so any questions on that?
I have a couple.
Okay.
Okay. I just want to know, was anything done to improve the field conditions at the get-go of this IGA? I mean, I've been out there to the middle school fields. My son played on the soccer team, and there was divots and clay and hard dirt and then patches of grass here and there. And I know that the irrigation system's in, and I know that the city's watering it, but was anything done to improve the field conditions when we started this IGA?
The field was turned over as it had been previously used to the city, and there have been some minor improvements with some irrigations. The watering and the mowing is pretty much what is being done by the city. There's no aeration or top dressing that's been done.
Is that a future that is our responsibility as a school district, or is this something that is the city's responsibility? I'm not exactly sure. I mean,
It's a city, if I may, it's a city's responsibility to maintain the fields. And one of the things that was presented, if I recall, of one of the benefits of this IGA was that the quality of our fields would be improving because of the extra care that the city could provide that the schools did not have the funding to provide.
They're not.
Is that happening?
It is happening to a certain degree. We have been meeting to, in fact, we recently met Monday to discuss potential improvements too. And this is the first 6 months of the IGA. I think the maintenance of the field is in a higher standard than what we were able to provide purely from the watering point of view and the numbering of mowings that's going on right now. I think all of our fields need to be potentially aerated and top dressed along with that one, and that's expensive. We need a partnership to be able to do that.
But I don't think if we're increasing the use on the fields and we haven't done anything to improve the condition except for watering and mowing, that's really going to improve those field conditions.
Thank you.
And maybe you could get some clarification in terms of what our expectations should be from the city as far as what their plans are for improving the conditions.
Thaning you. Yes, I will.
Thanks.
I have one more question, Mr. Rush, and maybe the city can answer it as well. Are we going to be, can you just look into, I know you can't give a lot of information right now, as to posting more tobacco-free signs and no smoking? I just find that in the times that I've been over there, it's just a concern for if we don't catch it early, it could get worse. Can we just look into that?
Thank you. Yes, we will.
Thank you for the update. Review original 2006 bond list. Dr. Conley?
Again, in your packet, there was some information that was submitted to you. We do have an ongoing education to those of us that are coming in and looking at what the original 2006 bond list was now that we have hit 2012. We do have a conference call scheduled with Mr. Brubaker next week so we can get a better idea of what was exactly on that original bond list. And the goal is by next board meeting to have this and have a more defined list to you.
No, I know it's an education process because the administration that we now have was not here in '06. I was even teaching at the time, I think. But so thank you. I appreciate the information.
Thank you.
Presentation by Maricopa High School marketing students on establishing a connection.
I will hand it over to our high school students.
Good evening once again. I'd like to take a moment to introduce Bernadette Rustinello, who has taken over our marketing program this year at Maricopa High School and has done some phenomenal things. And these four students, like you saw earlier this evening as I bumbled through the Skills USA, we are very proud to say that they are heading off to Salt Lake City at the end of April to compete in the DECA USA National Competition, and they're going to be sharing with you the presentation that has given them that ability. Ms. Rustinello.
Good evening. You can probably bet that they're completely terrified after sitting through 2 hours of calling the public, so be gentle. These ladies, we have with us Victoria Pisano, Courtney Soltes, Sarah Troyer, and Alex Thompson. All four received medals at our DECA competition for Arizona. We had over 2,000 students competing, and they placed within the top 5 in each of their events. Alex Thompson and Sarah Troyer placed in the top 5 for hospitality team decision making. It's a live role play where they're given a marketing situation and they have to come up with ideas and present it to a judge. And then Sarah Troyer, Courtney Soltez, and Victoria Pisano placed for their written event, which is a 30-page written plan that they have to submit, and they had to submit it 2 weeks before the competition. That's judged. Their plan was rated as actually the highest written plan out of the 5 plans that were submitted. And then they also have to do a presentation component. So they're going to do a shortened version of their presentation for you. Just so you know, they actually did the written event because they are all juniors, and they just wanted the experience in the event so that way they'd have a shot at nationals their senior year. And lo and behold, they qualified for ICDC, which is actually an international competition with more than 15,000 competitors that will be meeting in Salt Lake City. So it's a yeah. It's also important to note that both Alex Thompson and Sarah Troyer also won test medals for having the top 5% of test scores out of those 2,000 for their marketing exams. So it was really exciting. Their project is a chapter project. It's on public relations, and it looks at steps we've taken as a community, as a high school, and then within our marketing chapter of DECA to try to unite the school and to battle this ongoing problem we have with public perception. So, yeah. So they're
Mr. Snow, and DECA is an acronym that stands for?
DECA is an outdated acronym that stands for the Distributional Educational Clubs of America from 1964, which doesn't really mean a whole lot in our educational lingo any longer, but it is an organization that stands for the emerging young leaders in entrepreneurship, marketing, management, and finance. So, with that, I'll hand it over.
All right, thank you so much for having us tonight. We're going to be a really shortened version of our presentation, so bear with us. We haven't actually practiced the shortened version. All right, so our whole plan was called Establishing a Connection. That's how it started. We recognized as a group that the city of Maricopa or our school district is kind of struggling to retain the kids that have maybe started going, or there's a bad perception of the community so far. So our whole goal is to get the reputation of the Maricopa School District back up and get more support from the community for our schools so we can retain the students and get students to continue to come to the school.
Our dedication, it's not just a project that we're doing right now. It's not limited on time. It's going to be a project that we continue to work on through the years. It's not limited just our junior and senior year. We're going to continue to work on it. And all of us, not just us 3, but the entire marketing team, are excited to see the results of the project. In the years 2000 to 2010, there was 204.
Please speak into the microphones.
I'm sorry. There's 2,204.
It's okay.
I promise it doesn't bite back.
204 people that came here daily. So as you can see, that was quite a growth. And with that, families created this misperception that we had insufficient facilities. Sorry, this thing's kind of nervous. And we didn't have enough teachers, but as time went by, we now have great facilities. As you can see, our schools are improving, and we also have a 19-to-1 teacher-student ratio.
All right, so our target population that we want to reach is the incoming 8th graders as well as the parents. We also want to reassure the students who attend our high school and their parents to let them know that they made the right decision letting their students come here to Maricopa High School. We also want to reach out to the students and also the parents who take an hour daily bus ride to other cities when commuting there.
So our campaign slogan started with, it's 3 parts, it's excite, invite, and ignite. It starts with exciting our current student population about our program and the quality and effectiveness of the schools that they're in. Because as soon as we get them excited, they'll tell everybody, they'll tell their friends, their family, and it'll just create more publicity for the project.
Inviting the students as well as community members and potential students such as 8th graders to our community to experience things on school campus firsthand.
And also, we must ignite the interest and support of our broader Maricopa community.
See if it works. There we go. All right. So, like I said before, with the Excite part is the first step of our plan. Is the more our current students love their schools, the more they talk to their family and their friends and community members about the spirit at MUSD. So we decided to rebrand MHS. We had a theme. It's Grab Your Future by the Horns. We kind of had a little sign that we carried around. It's kind of been just like our motto for this whole project. We worked in conjunction with Student Council and provided a bunch of activities to get spirit back again. There we go. We also developed a line of, like, we had some glasses, we had Ram bands, and it kind of created just a little something that the kids had that they could wear all the time. And if someone asked them about it, they could say, oh, this is from my school, they're Ram bands. So it was just something to get their, the spirit up a bit. We also planned a district-wide Spirit Week with all the schools in the district, and we encouraged all the kids from all the different schools, elementary, middle, and high school, to dress up for themed Spirit Days. That's our sign, which is the motto, kind of what I was talking about before, the Grab Your Future by the Horns. It's kind of stayed with us the whole year.
Inviting students to our campus, we've hosted Night of Excellence, which is kind of like a student showcase. Has everything, pictures hanging up in the PAC from photography and graphic design, as well as ceramics and jewelry. We have orchestra performances, ROTC marches, a lot of opportunities for people, community members, to come to our campus to see what our programs have to offer. We also have complimentary senior athletic passes, which is nice because it encourages them to keep coming to our games, and that includes every sport that the high school plays. And we also did a high school-like assembly, pep assembly, to get the 8th graders excited and feel welcome at the school, to encourage them and let them know that the school has spirit, let them know that they're welcome there and to feel invited and safe.
These are just pictures of some of the activities we did with the 8th graders and some of our high school pep assemblies.
All right, so Ignite. Ignite involves the greater Maricopa community. So far, we've partnered with the City of Maricopa. The City of Maricopa has helped support our youth programs by hosting activities at our actual campus. So far, what we have done is Maricopa, we've had movie nights at our facilities. We also have starting to plan a community-wide talent extravaganza. So that's something we're pretty excited about. Some of the other things we've done is our CTE funded media journalism program has broadcast events and games on community-based cable channels. We also hosted the Maricopa Historical Society's November Fashion Show, which was based on the First Lady's fashion. We've also partnered with the Maricopa Community Theater, and it's also the home base of all their theater performances. We've also, sorry. Some of the things we've done is to partner with the community colleges. We've hosted events there and other programs that help benefit the Maricopa high school students.
As of right now, we don't have the definite numbers on registration yet, but our focus on establishing that connection was definitely a success so far. We've had a lot of really positive feedback from community members, from parents whose students took tours, just from the general community of Maricopa. And we've also seen increased spirit and participation of the students at our schools, which is a big deal. Just shows a lot how they're reacting to the campaign.
Some recommendations we have for our project is starting a Twitter and Facebook account. We know that a lot of students like to text, so it would help them keep updated with their school, let them know what's going on, what we're doing, as well as sending DECA members and officers to board meetings to keep things updated. We also wanted to start soliciting as a DECA chapter and marketing team to local businesses and getting a partnership, hoping for that one, and just continue to find ways as a team to improve this project.
So we thank you for your time, and we're open to suggestions, any comments you have. So feel free to email Ms. Rossanello, our sponsor. Her email's right up there, and thank you again for your time.
Awesome job, ladies. That is terrific.
Yes, thank you. Proud to be a RAM alumni.
Thank you very much. Information on payroll delay? Dr. Conley or Mr. Roush?
President Bartle, members of the board, you do have some information in your packet about payroll delay. Just a little summary. Due to an audit finding, and this is the second year we've had this audit finding, we're on delayed pay. The district administration and business office is recommending that we do a delayed pay system, which right now there's a system in place years ago that was inherited and kept going on, and we're not the only school district in the state that does this. Quite a few do, in that we are not delaying pay for our current employees. And as just they should, the auditors have suggested that we do that. So we're recommending that we do a delayed payroll system to wipe out that audit finding. Now, I do want to say that it's an audit finding that is standard, and we had 2 this year. Actually, we had the best audit we've ever had since I've been here, so I want to celebrate that. But we would want to knock this audit issue out. There was no audit finding on the payroll system that it was inadequate or major errors at all. In fact, it was incredibly sound. But this just helps our payroll system. With that, I want to bring up our only payroll person, and should be one of the most welcome people in the district, because she pays over 700 of our employees, and we have one payroll person, Pam Brown. I just want to celebrate her because she does a heck of a job. So thanks, Pam, and I'll let her talk a little bit about some of our solutions with the delayed payroll.
Currently there's 3 groups that are going to be impacted by implementing this. Currently our classified staff are already on a 2-week payroll delay, so we're good with our classified hourly staff. The groups that are going to be impacted are the certified teaching staff, the administrators, and then we have 28 classified hourly people that are 12 months that are on a balanced pay system. Those are the 3 groups that are going to be impacted. For the certified teaching staff, typically the solution is they're going to have to get their first paycheck 2 weeks later than they normally get it in order to implement the 5-day delay. For the administrators, since the school year starts July 1st and the first paycheck is scheduled for July 6th, there really isn't anything we would pay that day, so the idea for the administrators to not have a big financial impact on them is for 1 year to go to a 27 pay system instead of a 26 pay system. If we did this, then at the end of that year, that extra 27th check is what we'd save and give to them for their first July check of the following year, and then we're on track. For the balanced pay group, I had to get a little creative with this group. The only way for them to completely have to wait a month to get paid after the end of this fiscal year is if we go to a 5-day delay for them as well as the administrators and allow a 5-day cash out of their vacation. So that's the 3 recommendations in order to lessen the financial impact on the individuals in our district.
Thank you for the information. Questions?
Yeah, we didn't have any information in our packet regarding this.
I think that was submitted
I didn't have
electronically.
any.
Yeah.
Well, resubmit that to everybody
Yes,
if you
I
would.
will.
So that,
That'd be great.
okay.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Is there a motion to approve consent agenda items 6A, B, C, D, and E?
So moved. Second.
So motion is second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6F, approve the 2012-2013 salary schedules. Thank you, Mr. Beckett, for being here. Questions for Mr. Beckett?
One of my concerns, and I have talked to Dr. Conley about it, is how this impacts with the budget recommendations. Since we don't have the budget recommendations yet, approving this, does it lock us in? You know, if there's some changes proposed by the Budget Committee, I just don't want to put the cart in front of the horse.
Thank you. President Bartle, members of the Governing Board, Member Coutray, Tom Beckett, the Director of HR. Salary schedules are subject to change. This is simply to help us to plan for our contract renewal period. The only real deadline that we are presently under is for our administrators. Statute tells us we have to have contracts issued on May 15th. So we'd actually have 2 more Governing Board meetings prior to that issuance. But again, we want to get that done in a timely manner. If there are suggestions that the Budget Committee is going to make, we're going to need those shortly in order to finalize our contract preparation. Once again, the salary schedules can be changed at any point in time during the year, but once we enter written contracts, obviously we're going to abide by those contracts for our teaching staff, related services, and our administrators.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So there's the only deadline that we're facing again is May 15th.
By statute, yes.
Okay.
But we would need the information by the first week of May.
If we were going to change.
Please.
Yeah.
But not
Please.
We want to cut it short by the 14th.
Right.
No, just kidding.
I have several questions on this item as well, and things that I'd like to, that I think we ought to look at in terms of doing, looking at it a little bit differently, and especially in light of the fact that the Budget Committee is meeting in the coming days. I'd like to make a motion that we table the approval of the salary schedules and give the board an opportunity to provide feedback to Mr. Beckett and staff to, and get solicit the input from the Budget Committee prior to approving this.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah. Mr. Beckett, this won't hinder the contracts being done for the administrators, or will this?
Or teachers.
At this point in time, we will wait until we get an approved salary schedule before we go forward with the contract
But this will
preparation.
give you enough time. This is what
We
this
have
is.
we have 700 employees that we're going to need to prepare work agreements for and contracts for. And once again, Attorney Osborne's with us tonight. She is working on those contracts. We were hoping to bring those contract language to you next board meeting. I have 3 staff members. They're very efficient. I have high expectations for their performance on this.
Okay.
But any additional time that you can give to us certainly would be appreciated. But again, I want to be respectful of your concerns.
Okay.
Well, I think even worse than taking a couple extra weeks of their time at this stage is coming back and making changes.
Right.
As far as the obligations to staff time, so.
If I could just go ahead and just speak briefly, we do want to get the contracts out for our teaching staff prior to them, and then have that return come prior to their last day of teaching. So they have a 15-day period in which they can review that contract before they would have to have turned it back in or it is void. We want to try to have that happen before they leave for their summer break. It's much easier for us to follow up with employees if we've not received a contract. Similarly, we want to do this, a similar situation with our work agreements for our classified employees. They have a 10-day period in which they're permitted to hold on to that contract, that work agreement until they sign. So just to give you a little idea of the time frames we're looking at, mid-May is doable for most of our employee groups.
But if this is brought back at the next board meeting, that would still give plenty of time to create those contracts and get
Yes, it
those
would.
out. Okay.
There's a motion to table this item and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6G, approve the 2012-2013 Governing Board meeting schedule.
That was me.
Mrs. Coutray.
I was looking at the schedule, and I'm just a little concerned at the end of the school year. We only have 1 meeting in July. Our school year calendar starts August. And I'm wondering if it just would be more prudent to have 1 meeting in June and 2 in July, so that that July meeting is not a 4-hour meeting and rush to get everything approved, so we make sure that our staff has everything in line so that they can start on time, not rushed, for August.
Dr. Connolly, if you could, historically there are a couple of months where we've only had one meeting, and presumably it's because though it's a light month, correct? Has that changed? Do we have more obligations in July than we do June, or what are your thoughts as far as the meeting schedule goes?
Is this on? Yes, it is. I would say, unfortunately, that both months are very busy because June you have your budget, you're finalizing, it's your last moment to finalize anything with the budget and any amendments that have to do with your grants. It really is a busy time, and please speak on this as well. But July, then you run into hiring, and our new teachers start July the 25th. So they're both very busy months.
Having a meeting on July 24th isn't going to impact start date on the 25th, right? Whatever needed to be done for that will have been done.
No, we just have to make sure we have an earlier board meeting to pass and finalize the adopted budget by July 15th. Obviously, we do our business and pay our bills, and it's easier for our staff if we have two board meetings to get the bills paid and the payroll out.
So that's justification for having two meetings in June in addition to the July 10th meeting, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. And obviously, we could always, if we come to look at a super heavy schedule on July 10th, we can always decide to have an additional meeting in July.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're supporting our staff and making sure that they have plenty of time to get things that have to be board approved.
Well, that's why 2 in June is better. So
It is, but a lot of people do take vacation in June. I know our superintendent is.
Any other questions or comments or motions?
No comments. Motion to approve the schedule as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Irving. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7H, discuss and approve personnel schedule, which includes resignations, reclassifications, terminations, non-renewals, stipends, new position requests, employment ratification, administrative renewals, and leave of absence FMLA. Mr. Beckett.
Thank you, President Barton. Personnel schedule that we're proposing. I'll entertain any questions at this time.
I do have a question on the administrative renewals page that's included in that whole packet. If we approve this administrative renewal page, does that automatically lock in this current salary? Because I know the budget committee is meeting and all of that is being considered. So does that lock in those salaries if we approve the administration as stated?
Thank you, Member Anderson. This is simply a renewal of a position. The actual salary will be determined by the salary schedule approval and by the position in which each one of these individuals would find themselves prior to next year. I'm sorry, did that answer the question?
No, so that the answer is no, it doesn't affect the salary.
No, it does not affect the salary.
Okay.
Correct. Thank you.
All right, and then, go ahead,
Please.
Mr. President. On the very first page, employees 8 and 9. My question is I hesitate to make decisions on this, even 1 through 10, because we don't have the information, and I don't know if that is something that we can request an executive session with the employee to make sure that we are making the best decision for the district and our students. So I don't know if we can separate employees 8 and 9 until we, I do have questions. I want to make sure that we are making the best decision for our students.
Ms. Osborne.
Yes.
With administrators, the decision to hire or not hire must be done by April 15th. That's a deadline. If you don't make a decision, you've actually made a decision. You have to, if you're going to non-renew an administrator, it must be done by April 15th. If you don't make a decision at all, then the administrator is automatically has to be given a contract before May 15th.
Yeah, I would wholeheartedly support Ms. Anderson's concern. For me to vote, I agree. I would like a little more information, even if we have to do it tonight. I'm sorry, I said I would like to support her concern about getting more information. I understand the deadline, but I would have to abstain from voting because I just don't know all the information. So I think to be fair to everybody concerned, if we need to do it, we need to do it.
In all due respect, Mr. Irving, there are certain things that are in personnel files that even the board should not be privy to. And it is the superintendent's decision. And there are certain items that even if we were to request, we would not be able to see. And it's for the protection of not only the district, but the employee itself.
That's not true. Any employee can request to see the personnel file.
An employee can.
And an employee has the right to waive that, to share that information. That's case law.
I think a larger concern for me is these employees that you referenced, numbers 8 and 9, no different than employee number 1, who was a bus driver. Other than the fact that bus driver did not have folks come in here and comment and so forth. So we are not going to ask for executive session on every employee action to find out and make assessments. That's why we hire a superintendent. And we have to trust in our superintendent that they're making those decisions in accordance with what's best for the district. And it's a very, very slippery slope if we start second-guessing that.
I agree. I personally think it's not a matter of supporting or not.
If the board would like some assistance with legal help, we could go into executive session.
Right.
It would not be for discussion of any individual. It'll just be giving you some legal assistance as to what the law is. If you would like for me to do that, I'd be glad to. We could do that now.
I'd personally be very satisfied with that.
Yes.
Is there a motion?
Motion, we go into executive session to meet with our attorney and talk about the law.
The law regarding
non-renewal. Okay.
Is there a second? Second
Did I
by
make
Mr.
the motion?
Irving.
I second.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I just made it so I can go to the bathroom, to be quite honest.
I'm not comfortable with this.
Oh, me either. You can't do that without.
And it is 8:45.
8:45, and we are back in regular session, discussing item 7H, personnel schedule. Additional questions or comments from Mr. Beckett?
I have one question, Mr. Beckett. Employee 22, does that need to go under position requests, or is that done? I just want to make sure it's in the right spot.
Correct. Yeah, Member Anderson, I believe that was already approved. We
Okay.
approved that position earlier.
Okay.
Mr. Beckett, the sheet I have, and there may have been an updated one, so tell me if I've got it wrong, but on numbers 8 and 9, states that those are non-renewals on my sheet. Those should be designated as resignations, correct?
That is correct.
Does that need to be an amendment to the?
No, it was
or
in
was
the
it?
general
was it done?
fund.
Okay.
Amendment.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments or motions?
Now, I'd like to move that we approve the HR schedule.
Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item I is all you. I'm excusing myself from item I as it deals with my company.
Well, let me find my other agenda. Sorry, got it. Okay, item I, approve expense voucher 1240. Any questions, discussion?
I move that we approve I expense voucher 1240.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
And one abstention. Okay. Is he back?
We didn't say too much about you. Just kidding.
Thank you. Item 7J, discuss and approve a legislative action agenda item or items to submit to Arizona School Boards Association. And this is a follow-up from our previous meeting in which our distinguished delegate, Mrs. Coutre, suggested, well, really gave us homework, is what she did.
Yes, I did my homework.
I did
Mrs.
mine.
Coutre, take it away.
Well, I wrote up one, and obviously would love some input on it. But the proposal that I would like to propose to the ASBA Legislative Committee is for the belief statement, number 2, the local control and governance, and it would be to seek and support legislation to amend ARS 15/922-1, reducing the daily route mileage not to exceed 15 miles each way to and from the School of Attendance and pickup point on regular routes that transport students from their residence district to out-of-boundary districts unless an agreement is in place between the two districts when both districts share the same Department of Education label. The rationale behind it: when districts like MUSD lose students to other districts, the loss of revenue makes it more difficult for the district to serve the remaining students and prohibits the district from additional programs and funding needed to grow and be competitive. Unfortunately, no
quite
other
lengthy.
districts are going to, I know.
Right.
But you know what, the last one that went to the legislative wasn't enough. And unfortunately, I've reached out to other districts, and they're not going to join us.
Or will
And
they?
support, well, you know, at least as far as writing it up with us, I don't know if we'll get support at the committee, but right now, I was not able to.
I have a, President Bartle, may I make a comment?
Yes.
Please.
I did contact Casa Grande, and the reason that they're not doing a proposal and that the other districts are not doing a proposal is because they feel that ASBA has already set their legislative agenda, and so to put a proposal in at this point, it would not be effective. Now, that doesn't mean that we still can't submit it, so that maybe it puts it in the back of their mind for next year, but that's the reason why other districts have not done. It's not that they don't favor it, it's just that
They
they
don't
feel
feel
that the legislative, or the ASBA has already predetermined what their agenda's going to be, and that's what they're going to support, so.
Why don't we go through and hear everybody's? If you've got one on the same topic, let's bunch those together, and then we can have discussion, and then if it's on another issue, we can have that as a second discussion. So
I don't have one.
Does anyone have
I
one
was
on the
just
same?
supporting what was already in.
Supporting the same.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Irving, do you have anything to add?
I admit I didn't do my homework, but I totally trust. I know.
That's it.
What kind of a student you were.
You better believe that's what I was. No, I figured you'd say that, and I'm in total support of that.
I have a related one, same topic, and my suggestion is that we submit a request that they support legislation that eliminates providing taxpayer-funded transportation to students voluntarily attending a school other than their home public school district. Rationale being the limited funding for K-12 education should be directed to classrooms and teachers whenever possible. If students parents choose to take advantage of open enrollment and attend a school outside their district, they should be obligated to pay for transportation themselves. The financial burden should not be placed on other schools, students, parents, and taxpayers. Arizona's obligation is to educate our children. It is not to transport our children to and from the school of their choice. Those precious funds should be spent in Arizona's classrooms and on Arizona's teachers, with priority given to improve the schools from which students are seeking open enrollment.
You thought mine was wordy? No.
So yours is a taxation.
No, it actually goes under local control and governance, because he's talking about the busing, correct?
I think there are three. I think
Yeah.
there are numbers 4 and 10 under local control and governance, and as well as number 22 under the taxation and revenues are applicable.
Taxation, right? Revenues.
Well, again, I would throw them all up there, whatever they need to do to justify that it meets one of their requirements. But certainly it's a taxation issue.
I think we
obviously
stand a
local
better
control
chance at
issue,
that.
but-
I really, in my opinion, I think, President Bartle, we should go with what you've written up, but put it under the taxation. I think we stand a better shot at it being supported than trying to do a busing issue. I'm not going to get the support on the floor, even if I was to present it.
As soon as you say busing,
They think whenever you try to stop the busing, they think you're trying to put the kibosh on open enrollment. And, but I would recommend the board to submit your proposal, but I would do it under the taxation.
Okay. Is that a motion?
Yeah, that's a motion.
Is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And you'll give a copy of that to Hilda?
Motion carries, yes.
Yes.
Item 7K, discuss and approve to authorize the deputy superintendent to allow additional enrollment of non-resident pupils if there should be excess capacity remaining for which new applications were submitted by April 15th. Dr. Conley?
Move authorization.
Okay.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item L, discuss and approve the ungraded level for Pima Butte, Saddleback, and Santa Rosa Elementary to modify grade level classification. Dr. Conley?
I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Marshall.
Dr. Marshall? Dr. Fine? Dr. Howard? Dr. Fine?
Good evening. This ungraded level
Yes,
has
it
to
is.
do with
It's
our
on the amended
youngest
agenda.
students who are age 5. Under the IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, because of the weighted level that the students are given if they are classified as having an eligibility under the IDEA for our state. The ungraded weight for our 5-year-olds that are in kindergarten, typically the way that the typical students are coded and their funding is weighted, it's a half. How the state funds kindergarten is basically like a half-time student. But if we have an ungraded equivalent for our 5-year-olds, then those students that are identified with a disability that attend school all day long are eligible then to receive the Part B weighted funding. So that allows us to get full-day funding for our students with disabilities that attend full-day as a kindergartner from age 5.0 to 5.11. Then we're able to get the full-day funding versus just the half-day funding. And so those are the only schools that did not have that grade level designation that when we went back and reviewed for our preschool licensing. And that's why we wanted to make sure that all of our schools, because at this time, we have students with, for instance, an eligibility of autism or an eligibility of intellectual disability who attend all of our schools. They're not always in like a self-contained program. They're in all of our schools. And so this way it would give the district an advantage to be able to collect the available funds that are allowed under IDEA in the state. Does that make
Dr.
sense?
Marshall?
Mhm.
If I may, why wasn't these schools included up until now?
We had not had students at those schools with those designations in the past. Most of the students were either in a self-contained type of a setting found at Butterfield and or MES. And then now we're finding that we have other students that are in all of our schools. And that just shows that the inclusive practices that Maricopa stands for is actually very much alive and well, starting with our youngest learners coming out of the preschool.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Marshall. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item M, approved to adjourn to executive session.
So moved.
For,
Second.
yes, for ARS 38-431.03A3 for legal advice for the district's attorney, and ARS 38-431.03A7 regarding the purchase, sale, or lease of real property.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Do we have to sign anything tonight, guys? We have to sign.